US President Donald Trump, who's gone on to say that Ukrainian President Zelensky could attend his upcoming summit with Russian leader Putin in Alaska coming up on Friday, the 15th of August, but expressed doubt when it comes to Zelensky's presence would make much difference in securing a peace deal. Trump addressed and has gone on to say that the meeting with Putin is aimed at understanding the possible parameters of a peace deal. This is before he consults with Zelensky and European leaders. He added that if Putin presents what he views as a fair deal, he will bring it to the European Union, NATO and President Zelensky as well. Now, the president has also gone on to add that a meeting between Putin and Zelensky would be necessary. That is what Trump is really aiming at after meeting with Putin himself.
There's good and there's bad. But it's very complex because you have lines that are very uneven, and there'll be some swapping, there'll be some changes in land, and the word that they will use is, they make changes. We're going to change the lines, the battle lines. Russia's occupied a big portion of Ukraine. They've occupied some very prime territory. We're going to try and get some of that territory back for Ukraine. Putin or Zelensky and Putin and me. I'll be there if they need, but I want to have a meeting set up between the two leaders. I was a little bothered by the fact that Zelensky was saying, well, I have to get constitutional approval. I mean, he's got approval to go into war.
And former Pentagon official Michael Rubin has slammed Pakistan's army chief Asim Munir over his recent nuclear threat, saying that Islamabad was behaving like a rogue state, and with the war mongering, he compared Pakistan's de facto military ruler with Osama bin Laden, the terrorist behind the 9/11 attack, noting that Munir's recent remarks were reminiscent of what the world has heard from the Islamic State. The controversy centers on Field Marshal Asim Munir's recent remarks in which he threatened that if Pakistan goes down, it will be taking half the world down with him. The comments were reportedly made during a meeting in Tampa in Florida in the United States in the presence of US military officials.
Americans look at terrorism through the lens of grievance. They believe that a grievance can be addressed with a diplomatic formula, a combination of bribes and concessions and so forth. They don't understand the ideological underpinnings of many terrorists. Asim Munir is Osama bin Laden in a suit. The fact of the matter is, there is no amount of concession that can be given to Pakistan that is going to change the ideology of Asim Munir or the Pakistani elite which he represents. This is why I'm saying that Pakistan is playing a very dangerous game.
Now, Rubin has also slammed US President Donald Trump and has gone on to say that the United States is wrong in targeting India over its trade relationship with Russia. Rubin has pointed out that Trump's hypocrisy in imposing 50% tariffs on India, and has also gone on to add that the United States is purchasing uranium, hexafluoride and other strategic minerals, that too from Russia. So if US can have those trade negotiations and businesses that are being carried out between the United States and Russia, then what is the problem in India buying Russian oil? So really calling out that hypocrisy as far as the United States is concerned. And Rubin, they're really slamming Donald Trump for really, holding and literally singling out India at this particular point in time. Let's listen in to what was said.
Donald Trump is wrong in his targeting of India in this case. First of all, the United States purchases uranium hexafluoride from Russia and other strategic minerals from Russia. The United States often talks about Azerbaijan and Azerbaijani gas as optimal because it bypasses both Iran and Russia. But if you actually look at Azerbaijan, much of the gas that goes through their pipelines is Russian or Iranian, and the Americans are purchasing it. So someone needs to tell Donald Trump that he's being a hypocrite here, and India is right to stand up for its rights. Prime Minister Modi is standing up for India's rights, is going to be the episode that historians remember, where the United States truly learned that you cannot kick India around.
Vishal, my colleague, joining us to get us the very latest on this. Of course, that was ex-Pentagon official hailing Prime Minister Modi and slamming, Donald Trump, and really talking about how India is standing up for its rights, and it's Prime Minister Modi there standing up against Donald Trump.
Yeah, that's exactly right, and he's pointed out strategically how important the ties have been, but at the same time, Trump has sort of ruined those ties overnight by stating some of the things that are not really facts, such as India being one of the rare countries that export stuff from Russia. That's not a fact, because US itself imports stuff from Russia. Many of the high-grade fluorides, some of the fertilizers that go into the US territory, they are all imported from Russia. That's what this expert was talking about, that this is a hypocrisy of the US, that it is trying to pin the blame on India and trying to pin India down, but PM Modi has been standing his ground, and India is standing its ground, and defending whatever the onslaught has been from Trump. And so far India has done quite well, because the tariffs have gone into effect. 25% tariffs are into effect. But the fact remains that US's impact on Indian economy is only about 2 to 3%. So in the long run, we'll see how it unfolds.
Right. Thank you so much, Vishal. Moving on now, the United States has designated the Balochistan Liberation Army and its armed wing, the Mujib Brigade, as a foreign terrorist organization, citing deadly attacks, including a March train hijacking that killed 31 people. But the timing raises questions. Just weeks ago, it was Donald Trump's administration announcing a joint oil exploration deal with Pakistan, targeting Balochistan, a region rich in untapped reserves. As global powers race to secure energy and critical minerals, it's Balochistan that is sitting at the center of a very volatile, and this is a resource that is rich and deeply, in fact, it is also being contested. Let's just get you the latest from Canada. And it's a federal Conservative Party, that's the opposition there, that has joined the chorus of voices calling for the Lawrence Bishnoi gang to be added to Canada's list of terrorist organizations. The gang is suspected to be behind the surge of extortion threats in BC, in Alberta, as well as in Ontario, and that have in fact terrorized and terrified the South Asian community. Donald Trump has taken dramatic action when it comes to Washington, D.C., federalizing the city's police force and deploying 800 National Guard troops. Trump says that the capital has been overtaken by violent gangs, criminals, and also homeless people, calling it a public safety emergency. This marks the first time a sitting president has seized control of D.C.'s police, and also this is under emergency powers. Now, critics are calling this move dangerous and illegal, pointing out that the violent crime that one is seeing in DC is actually at a 30-year low that we're seeing. Of course, the mayor there saying that the action is unsettling and unprecedented, while Democrats are accusing Trump of using force to stir fear ahead of the election. Trump says more federal troops and even the military could follow. This is what Tony Waterman has to say. He has all the details.
President Trump laid out plans to take control of the Metropolitan Police Department for at least the next 30 days and to deploy troops on the ground. This is in addition to about 120 FBI agents who have already been reassigned to work overnight shifts on the streets of D.C. Trump says that this show of force is necessary because, in his words, the U.S. Capitol has been taken over by violent gangs and bloodthirsty criminals. And he cited some recent high-profile incidents, including one of his former DOJ staffers who was beaten up earlier this month during an attempted carjacking, and also a 21-year-old congressional intern who was killed by a stray bullet back in June. The Metropolitan Police statistics, though, actually show that violent crime is down 26% from a year ago, plunging to a 30-year low. Local officials have pointed to this figure as proof that there is no emergency to justify this assertion of power, claiming that this is either a distraction tactic from the White House or it's about further cracking down on blue cities, perhaps using D.C. as the test case for other Democratic cities across the country. Either way, D.C. is not a state, so the federal government and de facto the president do have the authority to exert control like this, even though it has never happened before. Deploying military troops is also allowed, but exceedingly rare. It's usually only used during emergencies, things like riots, mass protests, or natural disasters. Although President Trump has done this before, most recently deploying National Guard troops and active duty Marines on the streets of Los Angeles to quell protests over his immigration policies. The other thing that Trump has vowed to do is to purge homeless people from the city. There are about 3,000 of these individuals, although he hasn't said exactly where these people will go, except to say far from the capital. Tony Waterman, NDTV, Washington.
Now, moving on, is the Palestinian death toll in the Gaza Strip from the Israeli attacks has risen. It's gone to beyond 61,499 to be precise, with many others that have been injured since the attack that took place on the 7th of October in 2023. Gaza's health authorities have said in a statement that Israeli military operations in the enclave over the past 24 hours have resulted in the deaths of 69 Palestinians and more than 362 injuries have also been reported. Now, this as on a Monday, the media committee in the Jenin refugee camp in the West Bank said in a statement that Israeli military operations in Jenin city and the refugee camp had been ongoing for over 200 days, resulting in over 22,000 displaced residents. Now, it's Australia's Prime Minister Anthony Albanese that has gone on to say that Israel's Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu is in denial about the consequences to civilians in Gaza. Albanese's remarks came a day after he went on to announce that Australia will recognize a Palestinian state, joining the leaders of France, Britain and Canada in signalling what they have been saying so far.
I spoke with Prime Minister Netanyahu. He again reiterated to me what he has said publicly as well, which is to be in denial about the consequences that are occurring for innocent people. I mean, we have no truck with Hamas. Hamas needs to be disarmed, needs to be gotten rid of. The international community is very clear about that.
Now, India is, of course, also among the countries that are being added to an expanded UK government list of countries where foreign criminals will be deported once they are sentenced before their appeals are even heard as a result of measures to crack down on rising migration to the country. The UK Home Office has confirmed that the scope as far as this deport now, appeal later scheme is concerned will be nearly it will be between 3 to about 8 times as far as the countries to 23, with foreign nationals from these countries to be deported to their home countries before they can appeal against that decision. This report gets you all that you need to know.
Commit a crime in the UK and you could be on the next flight out. The UK government has expanded its fast-track deportation scheme, Deport Now, Appeals Later, to cover 23 countries, including India. Under this policy, foreign nationals convicted of crimes are deported right after sentencing. No waiting around for court appeals. They'll have to fight their case remotely from overseas. What started with just 8 nations now includes a growing list: India, Australia, Canada, Kenya, and more. If you're from one of these countries and break UK laws, expect to be put on a plane fast. This comes as the Starmer government has intensified its crackdown on immigration. Since Labour took office last year, over 5,000 convicted foreign nationals have been deported, a 14% rise from the previous year. The UK Prime Minister has declared there will be no second chances and any lawbreakers will be deported at the earliest opportunity. The goal? cut costs, free up prison space, and boost public safety. The UK says this is about protecting communities and making it clear crime won't buy you time on British soil. Samia Afsar, NDTV World.
And moving on to more news, and it's as well as government that is rallying supporters to the streets to support President Nicolas Maduro after the United States government doubled its reward to capture him, raising tensions between the two governments. The Trump administration has doubled its reward for his capture to $50 million on U.S. narcotics charges first filed in 2020, accusing him of leading a narco-terrorism conspiracy. Now, Maduro has long denied the allegations, portraying them as part of a broader campaign to topple his government. On his weekly TV show broadcasted on state television, he went on to warn the United States, calling himself a warrior of peace.
Aquí está Maduro. Pero yo le digo a los imperialistas y le digo a mi pueblo, le digo, no se atrevan, porque la respuesta pudiera ser el inicio del final del imperio norteamericano. No se atrevan. Dejen quieto a quien quieto está. Yo soy un hombre de paz, pero soy un guerrero de la paz.
Let's get you the latest now. A small plane landing on Monday at a Montana airport crashed into a parked aircraft, triggering a large fire but causing no serious injuries, is what the authorities have gone on to claim. The single engine, this is a plane carrying 4 people, was attempting to land at about 2 o'clock in the afternoon at the airport, according to the police officials there and the Federal Aviation Administration. Also going on to say that this particular plane stuck and this was an unoccupied plane on the ground. That caused that fire that spread onto the grassy area before it was extinguished, according to the police and the administration of the area. Swimming in the Seine River is becoming an increasingly popular tourist attraction as well as a must-do for Parisians themselves. Thousands of people have enjoyed a dip in the French capital's river since the opening to the public of the 3 bathing sites last month, a first in over a century, and the swimming areas are expected to get even more crowded as a heat wave is affecting the region of Paris.
I lost a bet with my boss at my job, and so the result of the bet was that when I came to Paris, I had to swim in the Seine because I was saying that I would never swim in the Seine. So I don't know if I will regularly be swimming in the Seine just because of the bacterial concerns, but for the moment, I have to say that it was much nicer and cleaner than I thought it would be. So the bet worked out for the better.
Cooling off.